Sometimes we Americans think we're more powerful than we are, and it leads us to react to a crisis situation with arrogance, lack of caution. And I have to confess, yesterday I made a statement that probably reflected that. When it was revealed that the UK and Spain wouldn't let us use their bases to attack Iran. And I thought, are these people crazy? Because this affects their oil prices. Well, they're not responding to oil prices. They're responding to something different. And the Europeans have been plotting against the United States for a number of months now, and they managed to keep it secret from our intel, which I really find striking. But there are things now that are coming out, and we're approaching a deadline where we've been told to vacate NATO bases, and this is just the beginning. I mean, this isn't you think, well, that must be the end story. It is not. In fact, actually, I'm going to break this up into two parts, because there's a part where Trader Milley, and he is a traitor. General Milley is a traitor to the United States. He did so, and I'm going to qualify that right now again. When he was questioned about Afghanistan, and they got around to the war with China, and he said, well, if we're going to attack China, I'd have to notify my Chinese counterpart. Oh, people went nuts over this. He's a traitor, and he's plotting against Trump. And this time, he has allies. We'll cover that in part two. Part one is striking. It's off the charts nuts. And this could cause such an inflationary cycle in the United States with what the Europeans are planning. The real story today, it's not Iran. It is not Iran. The number one story is what I'm about ready to present to you here, because this not only has implications for the war with Iran, but also in the Far East. This is nuts beyond belief. And there'll probably be a part three with regard to Mexico and Canada. The news just keeps getting worse and worse. I'll sum it up with this statement and tell you we're going to break it down. The world is plotting against the United States. We are standing alone. And the root cause? We've been colonized by Israel. I'm Dave Hodges. This is the Common Sense Show. We are the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. Thank you so much for joining us. Really good to be with you. And we are brought to you by a tremendous set of products that you need for your well-being.
The hot, crispy filet o fish. You either love it or you haven't tried it yet.
Mix and match two favorites, like a filet o fish or 10-piece chicken McNuggets for just $6.
Slovakia for the ads. It's the devil at work. I can't stand it.
The sun was dying. Every star was infected.
We have a great set of products here, and I'll tell you, if you're going to buy anything before all hell breaks loose, this might be the time. And these products restored me to very good health. I'm just hoping I can keep getting them, which we probably will for a while. The three products that I'm visually depicting are the Nanosoma liquid spray. It boosts your immune system to unbelievable levels. It's restorative, preventative, doesn't cure anything. But the polycosano, just through the roof, got me through a life-threatening situation. And then, of course, you've got the Nanosoma gel. Once you start working out and getting more mobile, those old aches and pains come back. This could fix that. And then you've got the skin cream, fine lines, wrinkles, cuts, and burns. And you've seen me deal with all these things and use all three products over time. I've been familiar with these products now for 2 years. And they've given me a great quality of life. They can you too. Go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. And you can see we have 15% off the retail price. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. Europe has turned on the United States. And I would say there's two things that we can look at. One I think is significantly more minor than the other. The one, oh, jeez, this is incredible. Trump is sometimes careless with his tongue. He minimized the Afghan contributions of member nations of the UN who buried service members in Afghanistan as well. Now, we did the bulk of the fighting, and that's what Trump was alluding to, but he phrased it as an insult. And he's also using it as justification for the big thing, taking Greenland by military force. Uh-oh. Well, this puts, let me go right here to the article. This puts Trump in violation of Article 4.27. It's called the Treaty of Lisbon. It's now been being brought forth because one member state can't violate that by going against another member state, and threatening military occupation of sovereign territory owned by Denmark does exactly that. And this has triggered a massive response in the EU. This is crazy beyond belief. Let me go to one big thing right now. As of tomorrow, later today our time, but as of tomorrow, we're looking at suspension of sharing of intelligence between Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the UK. That's one offshoot. NATO will follow. NATO has also ordered, as of yesterday, a 72-hour window for the US to vacate military bases inside of the EU. We have missile batteries, nuclear weapons, 120,000 troops. This is crazy. But they're serious. They're also announcing that if we don't comply, they'll enact a 100% tariff on all US goods. That could effectively collapse the US economy. That's another story for more in-depth analysis, but this is very, very bad. Basically, there's going to be a vote taken, and if Trump doesn't quickly reverse direction, we're going to be voted out of NATO for violation of, by threatening Denmark. This is absolutely crazy. The Germans announced a trade prohibition with the United States this morning. Very severe limitations. And I don't know how the US thought they were going to do this. By the way, the timing of the Europeans is brilliant because they knew with us tied up in Iran and things not going according to plan, this was the time to hit the US. And they have hit the US. I'm looking at these provisions coming out of what they've done. They're devastating. So people I talked to said, well, Dave, I don't think anything's going to come of this. This is all blustering because they need our nuclear protection, and only two nations that have their independent nuclear systems in NATO are France and the UK. Well, Macron, first of all, the guy's a blithering idiot, but he does hold some cards. And the cards he holds is he's told the rest of the European nations, we will provide you with a nuclear umbrella against Russia. However, you must pay 100% of French costs. And that's not sitting well with the European nations, not at all. Now, the UK is unaffected, but Germany's kind of sitting out there, and now you've got the border states with Russia, Latvia, Poland, so forth. They're up against it. But even with that, the Poles were pushing the 4.27 article to expel the United States. And there was another aspect that Trump did. He cut 40% of the funding to Ramstein, which effectively lowers the military readiness of the base, which protects Europe. And that's a violation of NATO bylaws as well. And this is what led Poland to say, well, okay, screw you, we'll go on our own. I think Europe is cutting its nose off to spite its face. You familiar with that old saying? My dad used to say it to me. He says, son, don't do things that are self-destructive. You might be angry, okay? But step back and think about what you can do strategically, plan it out, look at what the other side can do. Don't rush in emotionally because you'll be cutting your nose off to get back at your face. And this is some of what Europe is doing here. Because they can't provide the military protection the United States could provide under Article 5. And if you think Putin would not hesitate to take advantage of this, first of all, with Qatar in the war, they've cut off natural gas production because they were bombed. They're not going to risk it. Trump's bypass to Russia's blackmail of Europe with natural gas was that pipeline that had to run through Syria, which is why Trump acknowledged a terrorist leader in Syria after the ouster of Assad, because he needed the pipeline to go through Syria into Europe, and that was the effective bypass from Putin withholding natural gas and freezing Europe into submission. Well, now Qatar's out of the picture, at least temporarily. The Europeans are up against it. I'm telling you, energy-wise, they don't even consider their people. And this is clearly a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm going to tell you, the people are going to rebel. Now, I think they figure, well, we're coming into spring. We don't need it as much. This was the time to do it. Plus the timing with Iran, that limits U.S. options. Okay, but in the end of the day, next winter will come. And the European people should be very, very nervous about what's happening. But in the short term, if they go with 100% tariff, if they boot us out, we have to redeploy our forces. This sets up another part here to discuss. What happens to the massive forces we have in NATO? And then there's other factors like, what's China going to do? How soon will Russia act? We're going to cover that in the next segment. But right now, the Europeans have told Trump, we've had enough, and we're willing to cut the collective noses off our faces to get back at you. In the long term, this will lead to the destruction of Europe. There's no question about it. They cannot stand up to Russia without the United States. And God forbid if Russia ever aligned with China, Europe would cease to exist. They'd be colonized. What a mess. We'll be back with more here on The Common Sense Show. Check us out at thecommonsenseshow.tv and site.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles of the Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, and unto the Bayatha Dawadah, the electors of David that are scattered abroad, I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. So, excuse me, this video here from Dave Hodges on the Common Sense Show is saying that, just to hit a few key points, is that the EU, NATO is giving America 72 hours to separate itself from NATO. So, and he said that America is now a stand-alone because Spain and Italy won't allow the U.S. to use their military bases, as a strategic way of, going up against Iran. So, these other countries, man, they're not having it from America no more. In fact, let me go ahead and get, just going to go ahead and get into the scripts. This is going to be the book of Daniel, chapter 2, starting at verse 4. And it says, "And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise." 41. "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. 42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So, in 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So, this right here tells you that the EU, the NATO, yes, they're strong, but they're divided against each other. They can't see eye to eye. They can't agree with each other. They're always having it out against one another, even though they're all part of the same system. But, they're broken. They're divided. They're against one another. All these countries that are part of the EU and the NATO. Right? This place, and they're all turning against America. And this is the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 16. And it says right here, actually, let me see. I'm going to start actually verse 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful, talking about the elect. And that Lamb is, of course, Yahushai. And these shall make war with the Lamb is talking about the other nations, NATO and the EU. All right, and it says here in 15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth, because America sits upon many waters, because it has colonized and oppressed other nations, set up their embassies, their military bases, and so on and so forth. And it says, where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So right now at this point, like Dave Hodges said, everybody is plotting against America. Ooh, America, you are in big trouble. You are in big trouble. You have nowhere to run and nowhere to go. You're going to have to face the music. And it says here, this is Jeremiah chapter 50. We start at verse 21, and it says, let me get that in the blue letter. Jeremiah 50, verse 21. And it says, go up against the land of Marathayim. And when we go to Marathayim in the blue letter here, Marathayim meaning double rebellion, another name for Babylon. And when you go to the root word, it goes to being bitter, or of harlot's end of wickedness. And as the elder apostles have said, America means bitter. And America is Babylon all over again, spiritually. So when you really think about it, Marathayim is really talking about America. I'm going to play it right here so you can hear it.
Strong's H 4850. Marah.
Marathayim. So, Jeremiah 50, verse 21. Go up against the land of Marathayim, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod, or Pekod, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahweh, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. Okay, so Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the Most High is going to use these other nations. Okay, you know, he's gonna have them arm up against America, which they're doing right now. And you know, the end result, you know, when you have a whole gang of kids who've been, you know, picked on and pushed around by the big bad bully on the block, eventually they're gonna get tired of that bully shit, and they're gonna start fighting back. Verse 22, a sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. Okay? You know, if you've been paying close attention to what's been going on through social media, because of course the mainstream media news ain't gonna tell you shit, they ain't covering nothing. All they do is lie and this and that. But you know, Iran is tearing up Israel right now. Tel Aviv and all these other US bases that are over there in the so-called Middle East, which is really Western Asia. Yeah, man, they're not having it. Iran is not having it. Verse 23, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? And Dave here said that America has been colonized by Israel. America has never been a free country. It's just been it's still owned by Britain, but you know, and being ruled by Israel. Okay? America is basically a vassal state, and when you look up a vassal state, a vassal is just basically vassal, when you go into the etymology, a tenant who pledges fealty to a lord, subject, subordinate, servant, domestic, retainer. So America just serves the purpose for Israel. And how do we know that? Well, look at what Trump is doing. He's basically, you know, not to say his name out loud, but he's really the leader of Israel's puppet, his pet, his little pit bull. So, let me read this again. It says, Jeremiah 15:23, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? So yeah, man, everybody is pretty much giving the big middle finger to America. And it says here in verse 24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. You know, Iran ain't having no ceasefire. No, Iran's saying, fuck that. You fuck with us, we're gonna fuck with you. So, you know, all praises to Yahweh Bashim Shai that he's stirring up these nations and having them fight back. You know, shoot, the closer we are to getting out of here. And you know, Iran has activated a few of its sleeper cells over here too. We've had some, a few, I can't remember exactly, but there was an attack somewhere here in America. I just can't remember where, but aside from that, man, we're almost out of here. Just the more and more that this war escalates with Iran, you know, the sooner these other prophecies can kick off with, you know, martial law, the introduction of, not really the introduction of the MOTB, but, you know, the MOTB being made mandatory, civil unrest, all that stuff. It's about to get really wild out here, you know. How about Shemel Shai that he keeps our minds stable, we stay humble, and we don't get out of character, or act out of pocket, or do something rash that ends up getting us, you know, judged. You know, we don't want to be in the way of judgment. And, you know, that's all I had for this. So, again, man, you know, right now, America is pretty much a standalone country now. And with that, I hope that this lesson was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles of the great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, and unto the Bayatha Dawada, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere citations. See you in the next lesson, Lord willing. Kwam Yasharala, Wa Abababal, Shalom, Barakatham.